It's nice of you to come and let me interview you.
Oh
Okay. Now I have a lot of questions about your book
yeah.
because it was a book that really kept me so engaged. Um I'm not really into fantasy, but that kind of pulled me in to it.
Me curious
So
how you're gonna
if
feel about it at first.
so I just want to welcome you to the Black Girl Book Talk, and I would love for you to introduce yourself.
So, I'm Allie Shante. That is how you pronounce it, is Shante. And then I'm the author of Living Legend, which is book one in a trilogy. Book two, Legendary, which the name just got kind of dropped a couple of days ago, is going to be out next year, and it's kind of like a new adult fantasy romance with angels, demons, and magic. And the female main character is my demon. The male character is my and there's mystery vibes, comedy, a lot of tension. There is spice, and it does end on a cliffhanger, but it's not that bad.
So, do you consider yourself what genre? Is it fantasy? Is it fantasy romance, new adult? What genre do you consider?
So the age bracket is like new adult, and then like the genre would definitely be like a fantasy romance.
Okay. Now, the book is called Living Legend, and it's a fantasy. Would you consider it outside of fantasy? Would you consider or new adult? Would you consider any other genre that it could be placed in?
Not really. If you like piece the book apart a little bit, then it could
Mhm.
probably get dropped in other genres. Like if you took away the magic and like the angel demon element, then it could probably be dropped in like a contemporary romance. But as the book as a whole, no, it's very much like a romantasy at heart.
Okay. The characters Danny and Nick. Let's start with their dynamic. Okay, Nick is an angel. Danny is a demon.
Yeah.
Danny is hardcore. I don't care about shit. I will kick your ass in a heartbeat type character. But you also, towards like the middle, towards the end, you get to see her vulnerability.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
Yeah, it definitely was. It was not meant to see her vulnerability as her like giving her any type of like redeeming arc situation. It's just showing that she is a lot different than most demons that they like would think that they would meet. So that she does have like this overwhelming conscience that, she does care, but, she's still a demon at heart kind of thing. So she's never going to really apologize for all the things that she's done, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't, give a flying potato about that man. Like she cares about him.
But Nick, he's the angel. But I'm on the fence about that because of his mother that you didn't tell us about. You just left us hanging. But he comes off so sweet and so caring, but behind them closed doors, that man was a devil. He was a demon. He was on demon time with her. Like he made the demon submit. You know what I'm saying? So was that that's what you wanted? You wanted the angel who had a bad boy side as well?
I think with Nick, it was very surprising to me. Because when he got created, it was very much like I wanted him to be very stoic, very loyal, very like them's the rules type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And he definitely came off that way. Like I didn't want his personality to mesh with like Reese's in any way. I wanted them to play completely different people. And so I think when the book kind of went on, and then when he, it really doesn't go on. Like literally in chapter two, when he sees her, it's kind of like that's the end. Like he's kind of done. And throughout the book, I think it was like without Danny and him trying to like not like her but like her, I think his
Mm-hmm.
personality just kind of like formed a little
Yeah.
bit more, and his flirtation or his like trying to not be as flirtatious as he actually is, and then the chapter 12s and the chapter 16s, it was kind of like it all just kind of came out, and I was like, I don't think that you're exactly how I wrote you in the beginning. Like, I think you're a lot different when you're with her. That's kind of like a different speed. So it's like when he's with Reese, he's a different person. Not that he's faking anything. It's just that with Danny, it's a little bit more like a he's different with her kind of feeling, and so he definitely acknowledges that he's different. Like he definitely likes her a lot, and it wasn't intentional for him to be that different.
Yeah.
But when I did another like edit reread, and I was like adding new things. I was like, okay.
But
I
you
was like,
also,
maybe you're not gonna be as quiet as I would like you to be. Maybe you're gonna be a little bit more vocal now. I was like, we're just gonna add these lines and these lines and these lines, and chapter 16 just kind of like went in a whole different direction. And I was like, okay.
but you also made Danny kind of his Achilles heel. Like he was the Mr. Goody Two Shoes, pretty much. Even though his partner in crime, Reese, was a hot mess. But he was a goody two shoes. But when it came to her, that bad boy came out. That it's like you said, he had a different personality with her, and it was just like, who is this man? Who is
Yeah,
this man?
I definitely didn't want him to go completely off the rails where people are like, whose man is this? Like, he was not, after like 400 pages, like, I don't understand how he got like this. I definitely wanted to be in a gradual experience, and he does get worse in like book 2, but that's just because the feelings are already there, they're already developed. Like, there isn't any miscommunication on how he feels now. So it's kind of all speed ahead. But I think that with Danny, I definitely wanted it to be 100%. There is no question about that it is a he falls first. It's just like, it is what it is. Like, there's no gray area in that. Like, he
So
just
did you want it to be like a role reversal as far as she is uh in your face, so hardcore outside of that relationship, but with him she's like a kitten, type deal.
I didn't want it to be so flipped to where all of a sudden it's basically like he is completely dominating over her. Um, I did have a friend after she finished it asked me, she was like, did you intentionally make them out to be like switches? Where like, and I was like, I was like, I don't know. Like, that wasn't intentional at all. It just kind of came to be where like, she's definitely 100% dominant outside
Yeah.
of the bedroom, and then she can 100% be it in it. Like, there's no
Yeah.
question about it. She could totally do that. She can 100% provoke him to do pretty much most of what she wants. And it's like the questioning of like, do you want it anymore? Because this man can definitely do it. Like, he's not going to really give you a choice anymore because you kept doing it. Danny's 100% a brat, and I will never let her like live that down.
Yes, she is.
And he knows it. That's the thing. But I think that that's what he likes about her is that there's a specific line, I think, it is book 2 where he basically says that like she's like this fiery individual, but he likes that fire. Like, he wants it.
Okay. Most fantasy books have a mission with sidekicks and then the main character. You have a mission within a mission with twists and turns and cliffhangers within cliffhangers. How the hell? Like, you have the mission to stop the demons coming to where the angels are, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the mission in which Danny's origin story comes about.
Yep.
And then you have the mission where Nick is like, who the fuck was my mama? And then you have and all of that. So how did you come about with it's so much, but it's not enough.
Yeah, it's not with me. I'm not a planner, so it all kind of came out with like being in my brain would be a scary place because the book was one way, and then I'll think of something that sounds really cool, and I'm like, that can work, and then that gets thrown in the book, but then I have no like origin story to it. I have no future towards that. I'm just like, that sounds cool for now, and then like I'll add it in there and hope for the best.
Mm.
And the best worked out, but it complicates things in my brain because then I have to kind of sometimes go back and make things make sense in the beginning so that what I'm
Right.
asking makes logical sense to the storyline. So the only things that were ever set in stone was Danny's origin story. That was
Hmm.
the original plan. Like that
That
was
was a twist I didn't
that
even
was
see
what I was
coming.
writing towards. So that plot twist in chapter 22, I think, that was the sole thing I was writing around. So whatever happened in the beginning happened, but I was writing towards chapter 22. Like that revelation that Nick makes is all that is happening. Like that's what I was writing towards. And
Did
then
you know I had to go back a whole bunch of chapters to make sure I didn't miss anything when that came out?
you're
I
like,
was like, wait a minute. She can't throw this in here like that. What?
yeah, I had that. That was definitely on the plate. And then I had added um Nick's mom was always meant to be like a mystery and was never meant to be figured out in this book. Um, it was just how much do I give so that people don't forget, but they don't
Hmm.
think that it's going to get answered. Like it's enough where I give nuggets where I'm like, don't forget about it because it's definitely going to get brought up again, but it's
Right.
not something that you need to hyper focus on right now. It's really for you as a reader in this man's head to be like, you're just like, okay. Like, he's just kind of rumbling around without, like, like a chicken with its head cut off at this point. Like, he doesn't really know what's up or down. And then I think with, like, the whole mystery of the things with the demons, that was just, like, the general book plot. So
Right.
that was kind of like their foundation. And
Right.
then everything else they got thrown out was, like, how do I keep the story alive? Like because sometimes I feel like if there's not like a mini plot within it, it doesn't lose my interest, but I'm kind of just like, you know, like can we
Right.
I need like some side action. Like I need something that's going to also be interesting too. Like it doesn't have to be a whole other plot, but like just like a little something that's like especially with trilogies and series, like I need like something else that's like not going to be answered right now, but it's going to push me to read the other ones to like hopefully figure it out halfway through by the end, something like that. So I was like, I need something that's making sense, but also going to keep people's interest. And I was like, parents are always fun. I was like, so we'll make Nick's mom something interesting.
Which, speaking of parents, his father, Maurice, that's
Right.
his name, Maurice. Um, that situation with him and the other angel slash whatever, and
Yeah.
the mom, and then the two head, well, the head of the angels. What was his name? Uh,
Jonah.
Jonah. That shit was like, what? What's going on here? Who's really the pappy?
Yeah, it's one of those other things that I definitely wanted to make a separate story on because obviously his dad's like an older Nick. So like his dad has been through all these things. I definitely hinted at all this stuff that his dad has done.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, guys, Jonah with the skies, like everybody was there, but like I can't really tell that story
Right.
without being in like his dad's head or on Jonah's head because then it's just kind of like an info dump that doesn't really matter right now, because that's not the focal point of the story.
Right.
But it's I wanted to throw in a lot more, but then I was like, I want to keep Nick's dad a little bit of like a mystery, but
Come
people still
on.
seem to love him. So I was like, all right. As much as
Because
everybody does not tell his son anything, people still love him. So I'm like, okay.
the comedic moments between his dad or Elise, we cannot forget about her ass. I need to know where she comes from, who she is, and why is she so passionate about Danny, like more so than a friend. So I'm confused, and I'm sitting here like, see, she done left me with cliffhangers on top of cliffhangers, and then a lot of questions to be asked, and we ain't even finna get on Reese and his infatuation with Natalia and the girlfriend thing. And then I was like, is Reese gonna get with Elise? Is Reese gonna get with Natalia? Is Natalia just gonna be the
Like,
token lesbian?
somebody.
What's going on? I was just like, what's
Yeah,
happening?
it's funny. It's really funny to see people who like whether they don't like Elise or don't like Reese or they like both of them, it's like they either want them together or they want them with other people or like something like that. And I'm just like, that's fun. And I was like, that's cool. I'm not gonna say anything. I was like, but I did have somebody say that like Reese tends to really go for unavailable women. So I was like,
Yeah,
facts. He
yeah,
really does. He really
yeah,
is a problem. But um they will like I mean they're getting their own separate story. So like they're gonna have their happily ever afters at the end of the day.
okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
I mean, I was gonna ask more questions because I'm trying to dig. I'm trying to
yeah,
dig
like
because
I don't know like their specific story. Like I don't know anything about like what those stories will like involve, like the plot.
Mhm.
But I already know that like, you know, everybody's gonna be happy at the end of the day. And I already know I know who their happiness is with. So it's gonna be great. So
so the dynamic of this mission and Lilith and what we found out about her. So my question is Lucifer going to be a part of this as well?
So Lucifer is not going to be really a part of this trilogy.
Okay.
Um, he will potentially make an appearance later in like in a different book, but
Hmm.
not in this one. No, he's just kind of talked about, but he's not as important.
Okay.
He's kind of like doing his own thing because like Purgatory is all like a lower realm,
Right.
so is like their main goal. Lucifer kind of has his own things to do. He's not really worried about her. Um, he's not the problem. Lilith is the main issue. So I'm not saying he won't pop up at some point, but he will. But he's not a focal point as of right now.
Okay. So with the enchanters that are with Lilith, will we find out more about why and more about Mora, who helped the angels? Will we find out about more of that dynamic?
Um, so you will come in contact with other like enchanters that made that decision to like go with Lilith and then
Mhm.
kind of regretting it kind of thing in book two. You will have to talk with them and you know whether or not they'll be players in book two to like help out. That's kind of like a mystery. But they will get talked to. Um, Not really so much about Natalia's mom. In like in so many like words, then yes, they'll talk about her, but it's more so that I do plan for this book to have like an entire prequel that
Ooh.
will talk like that will be in you know the POVs of Nick's dad and
Okay.
Jonah and you know Nick's mom and all those people, and so it's like you'll see all of that because it is really hard to about Natalia's mom in that sense without like the POV of somebody who like was actually there from the beginning. So
Mhm.
with these enchanters, you're kind of just seeing like their side, and you're not really hearing like everybody else who was actually friends, like friends with you know Moira,
Mhm.
and was super close right in the beginning when all this happened and all the things that went down. And so you're really only hearing like their side of like why they did stuff and everything. So to hear from that part, you'd have to hear from like those people. So when the prequel comes out, all of that will be a little like they'll be clarified, and then it'll roll into you know Living Legend.
Okay. So with the origin story of Danny, will there be more surprises to her origin story, or is her origin story, besides what's in the book of Living Legend, connected more with Nick's origin story? If Nick has an origin story in the book, I'm trying to beat it out.
No. So with Danny, that's kind of the end all for that. That was kind of so the part for her is done, but how do I describe it? Like that happening to her, and then her being so close with Lilith does play a pretty much 100% a part in book two, and why book two is so I guess like like it's so mind-boggling
Hmm.
because I feel so much in book two about the mind and like how being in where they are, it can mess with you.
Right.
And obviously with Danny, it's a different messing with than with Nick than with
Right.
everybody else because Danny has like an immediate connection to that place, so it's pretty strong with her. As much as she tries to fight it, it's like it's kind of difficult. But with Nick, it's kind of like where PTSD starts rolling in, and that's a dark enough thing in itself. And so with him already in a dark place, it's like you're already susceptible to problems. So
Right.
um I with Nick's so Nick doesn't really have like his origin story is pretty normal. Like it's just like, he was born to two parents and it's not really his origin story that is the problem for Nick. It's other things that have to do
Uh-oh.
with his dad and his mom and all of that will get like answered enough in book two, but it's not immediate. It's not in the middle. It's pretty much at the end. So
Oh, damn. Come
yeah,
on.
I did not make it anywhere early, but I won't say that like that twist in the book have to come at the end because of things that happen. It's kind of like cascading effect of the ending of a book, like the last 100 pages. So it happens, and then that thing about Nick happens.
Mhm.
And so you're like, you're just like, oh, okay, because it's not something that you can kind of Sherlock Holmes it. Like it's not something that's like pretty much anywhere in the book. It's a very much like a surprise factor.
So, will Natalia, I called her the token lesbian. Is she bisexual? Is she a lesbian? Does Reese even have a chance?
So Reese has a better chance with Elise than he has with Natalia. Natalia is
Damn.
a lesbian. Um, like but Elise is bisexual completely. She doesn't really care. Danny and Elise are both bisexual. Um, but Elise is more freewheeling to both sides, where
Hmm.
he's like, I don't care, but like I'm gonna probably head more towards like the Knicks of the world. But like she's kind of just like, I mean, when they were in bed together, she's like, I mean, everybody serves their purpose. Like, men, women, don't really matter to me. Like, I'm fine. Like everybody was happy at the end of the day. So like that's just the thing I really like about Purgatory and writing it is that there's really no judgment in that place except for like obviously enchanters or other demons see angels and it's kind of weird, but it's not anything where like sexuality gets in the way or like
Right.
our gender gets in the way or looks gets in the way or whatever.
Right.
Like people were just like fondling each other on the side of buildings kind of thing over there and they're just like, oh.
Right.
Like they're just like this happens now and they're like, are you surprised? It doesn't
So what about Jonah? Because I had him all wrong from the beginning. So far. I'm not even gonna say I had him wrong. But so far, I had him wrong because I thought he was the villain.
Yeah, I made him like a very predictable potential villain. So a lot of people have gone back and been like, can they pinpoint where the problem lied? Like who it could have been? And I'm like, I mean, maybe, maybe not. I didn't really make it so easy. Like I kind of just went back and forth between the relationship, mystery,
You did.
this, and I'm like, but also remember this that happened 100 pages ago. But also remember this thing that happened. But I mean, the Jonah story is not over. It's just kind of packed away right now because like
You are
they're
killing me.
not exactly in Heaven's Gate anymore. So everything that's happening at Heaven's Gate isn't really in the book in the second book because like they're in a different setting. So they're not really like everybody like Nick's dad, Daya, Natalia, everybody's kind of over there. Doesn't mean they can't talk to Natalia, but they're because there's ways for that. But the Nick's dad and everybody's not really in the book two as much. But I didn't really make them these like big characters so that you would like highly miss them.
Right.
Like they weren't really needed. Nick's dad was kind of in the first book as like obviously a parental support, and I wanted that kind of parent. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, as much as he's hiding stuff, he still loves his son unconditionally, kind of thing. So I definitely wanted that, but he's not really needed in book two until the end.
Oh man. See, you left so many eggs in the book that were potential to be like when you said it's a trilogy, I'm like, how? This should be like 6 books in this series. Because they're so like I said, it's so good, but it's a lot going on. There's characters within relationships, and I'm like, what about these? What about these? But then you drive home the main character's positions, which I like. The, the little stories lead to the big story.
Yeah.
Now, Lilith, Miss Ma'am, how in the hell is Lilith? I don't know how I should phrase this question because this is probably gonna be one of those questions you like I'm not answering it. But Lilith plays such a dynamic role towards the end, but at the same time throughout the whole story.
Yeah.
So is Lilith gonna be in all three or just one or two?
Um. So she's definitely gonna be in two. Obviously, she's gonna the so to start off. I think it's nice that you think that like she played a big role towards the end, but especially throughout the whole book without even being there. Uh,
Right,
that's what I like wanted to create her as a villain was that
right.
like don't even have to really be there to like
She
cause
definitely was.
because Lilith doesn't like chaos in a way where it's not like confined. Like she likes it to be like meticulously done. So it's organized chaos in a way.
Okay.
If other people decide to make it unorganized, that's not her fault. But she's like, we're gonna do this, this, and this. These are the blueprints. But like, if other people decide to, you know, f up, it's like whatever. It's on you. Um, but she is in the second book. I don't like. She may or may not appear in the third book. I don't know. We'll see. We're not gonna. So we're gonna the book and be like, okay, she's definitely gonna be in the third, or like, okay, no, she's not. Then how the heck is the third book gonna work out now? Because I don't understand.
Oh man. I read this book and I didn't put it down. I think I even did like some ask you a question about something because you had made Daddy Nick. I think I had got to the sex scene and I was just like, who is these people?
You kind of just like with at this point, you're like 12 kind of hits people, and they're like, wait, because most people can kind of tell it's coming because people love a good like fight, and then like we're not fighting anymore. But then people just got jump scared completely by 16 because it just kind of like veered in another direction. Most people are just like, it's still going. They're just like,
I
why?
was literally like, okay, now I know she didn't have me wrapped up in this situation. And here comes this situation. And how the hell did he become so daddy like? Like, what the hell? Like, is this the same motherfucker I was reading before? Like, I was so confused. I was like, I had to get on Twitter, on TikTok, like, ma'am, what is this?
Yeah, I saw
What is
that.
this?
I started dying. I also am apparently dumb, and I did not know what long stroke marathon meant. And so I like went downstairs and I was like, "Babe," I was like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Does that mean just he is like a long schlong or something?" And he was like, "I don't think so." He's like, "I'm pretty sure it just means like stamina." And I was like, "Oh, he got that. Okay, bye." I was like, fine. I was like, what time is it? Yeah, they're probably still going at it at this point in the book. I was like,
My
I didn't
God.
know what was. So when I wrote that scene, I wrote it. I wrote it at work. That's what I do. Sex scenes are like the easiest thing for me to write, and so I was at my old job and I was on a lunch break and it was on my phone, and I just opened Word and I was like, all right, so like I started it like after they had like done it the first time, and then they went to sleep and like he woke her up and stuff. That's when I started writing. I was like, okay. I was like, we're gonna start from here. I was like, well, I finished the whole thing, and up till like the point where they started talking again, and I was like, all right, I can write the rest of this on my computer. And then when I like copy and pasted it, I was like, this isn't enough. I was like, we're gonna start this somewhere else. So I was like, oh, I was like, we're gonna start this here, and you guys are gonna do this, and then he's gonna do this, and then we're gonna copy paste, and then it's gonna be very cute. And then when 17 rolls around, we're still gonna be talking about it. So
So tell me this. Tell everybody where they can find this book, ebook and physical book, and your website.
So my website is authorallieshante.com, and the paperback I have like book bundles, art prints, all those are on there, and then the book's on Kindle Unlimited, and it's on Amazon and on regular Kindle, and it's kind of like wherever books are sold online.
Are you going to do a special edition?
So I do have great edges of the book that will be coming out. They'll only be available at signings as of right now, and then after these two signings that I have in September and October, then I'll like work on like a pre-order form for them. It will be like first come first serve for like the like reader group street team, and then for the newsletter they'll kind of get first dibs on that first set of pre-order. And because I'm not doing a whole bunch,
Yeah.
it's not really fair to the girl that's spray edging them to give her like 500. um, so I'll probably like time and have her kind of send those out like that. So but they won't ever be like available, so they won't ever be like on my website. It'll always be like pre-ordered
Because
or
I need
pre-stuff.
to have like the original one, and then I need a special, because that book deserves a special edition. So I needed to have the actual, which I'm just gonna go to your website because I rather buy from the website than
Yeah.
from Amazon. So I'm gonna just go ahead and buy that from your website. And as soon as that special edition hit, since I am on your street team, I am going to get that special edition.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really, because my cover is already, there's a lot going on. So trying to get like a special edition cover of that is
Mm,
going to be a little bit more difficult, trying to figure out like what would be like, what I would change about it. But sprayed edges were kind of like a first way to go to make like a nice special edition. And then maybe I'll do like something else for like a hardcover or something for, the paperback. But for now, like the sprayed edges are beautiful. I love them. So
okay. So we're gonna pivot away from the book for just a second.
yeah.
I would like your opinion on how do you feel that in the world of fantasy, where it's ran by either males or white women, how can we, as readers, help with the diversity of fantasy, new adult? How can we help with that? And what would you like to see in those genres more?
I think it's mainly just like supporting, the POC authors that you see and like in their books, because normally
Mm,
that's where you'll find it, is like what you're looking for is in those people. Sometimes a lot of white authors and stuff are always afraid to write the characters of color because
mm,
they feel like they have to write something like this or stereotypical like this.
mm,
And I mean, I've seen it done where you don't have to, but they always kind of either feel like they do or they're just afraid to do it at all.
mm,
Want to see that in a book, you need to find authors that look like me, or like Latina authors, or Indian authors, like anything like that, where you're going to find these characters represented in a way that is well done.
okay.
It's just like obviously buying from their website, and when you do read it and when you do like it, then you hype them. You don't read it and then just put it down,
Right.
and then you talk about it and then you wreck it to other people.
Right.
It's not going to go anywhere once it's from like your eyeballs back to your bookshelf.
Now, in the future, what would you like to see as far as literary in the as a whole? What would you like to see for the BIPOC community, and um, what would you want to see in regards not just traditionally but indie authors? What would you like to see moving forward with that?
I definitely want to, and I definitely seen it, but I always love a good, that's why I created Danny as a character, is that I want to see really well done, you know, EOT female characters.
Right,
And not as side characters, not as, they're here for a good time and a long time kind of thing.
right,
They're
right,
here the entire time. They're unapologetically themselves. They don't have to be demons. They don't have to be fae. They don't have to be witches. They don't have to be whatever. They could just be like the main character. And like
right.
the main ones I always hear about, are I forgot her name, but like the author of like Legendborn. So like
Yeah,
always talk about that book, and I'm like, well, yes, it's traditionally published, but I want to see it in like other, indie all out there. I just never see it. Like they're never either hyped enough or for some reason it's just not popping up on like my FYP, which is a shame.
do you think that with TikTok and Bookstagram and even now Threads and YouTube, there should be more push towards indie authors and BIPOC authors in that regards to um, the marketing, and because I know TikTok has a problem with showing BIPOC creators, period, across the board. But do you feel like there's more we can do?
Um, Unfortunately, I feel like with TikTok's always just gonna do whatever it wants to do.
Right.
So, like, if anybody tries to flood anything, TikTok like this has a weird mosquito net of just like catching all of it and not doing it. Um, and I've definitely heard that like certain hashtags will just get like pushed down,
Mm-hmm.
certain things. Um, I just feel like I feel like it's just like push it as much as you can and as much as you want, and somebody will see it. It may not be as fast as people would like, but
Right.
I feel like every so often, somebody's going to see it and it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
blow, and somebody's gonna see it and it's gonna blow up. But I feel like it's not gonna be this immediate turnaround like most authors or like other people. Because I mean, my FYP is generally filled with like the same books, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine and well. I'm happy for those people, but every so often I'll see a book that I've never heard before. I'll go look it
Right.
up. I have all these really great reviews, but and then when I personally go look it up, like on the searches, there's all these videos that I've just never seen.
Mm. So, what do you feel as far as book talk influencers, Bookstagram influencers, thread influencers, whatever? What do you feel that we can do as influencers that can help more with indie authors like yourself?
Like it's just keep talking about it, but like on all platforms. I know TikTok is the thing and it's probably the easiest to kind of get viral on and pop off on, but I feel like just continuously talking about it and like showing the book, but also like showing your face talking about it because a lot of times those videos do better than just showing like pictures.
Right.
People are just showing pictures of books, so they're just doing like those can still do well. Some of them don't, but I feel like it's just this continuous thing of using all platforms to get these books to where they need to be.
So, how do you feel about? I don't know if you consider yourself a multicultural author as far as the relationship of the romance or interracial romance author. What do you put yourself in that category, or do you just say romance author or fantasy romance?
I mean, I just say fantasy romance. I mean, it's definitely like an interracial romance. But I don't focus on it so much, just because the story is so heavy that
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want people to focus on that. But I think that when I created a lot of these characters and wanted to make them like so many different like diverse people in this book, I did it
Mm-hmm.
happen that people would read it and be like, oh, like this character's Mexican, this character's American, this character's Asian, this character's. I just wanted people to read the book, like to run through
Right.
the book and like not even really like they pay attention to it. They're like, oh, okay, so if whenever it's fan casted or something, like it's accurate. But I think that I didn't want it to be so in people's faces where like that's what they focused on was that Danny's alive. That's not what I wanted at all. But I didn't want people to forget that she's brown. So I definitely wanted brown skin to like not just like go over people's heads. Right. Because we all know that people like to fan cast or artwork it and people get whitewashed completely. This is why I get art done myself.
Ow.
So it happens all the time. And I mean, like, that's why I tell most people to just get their own artwork done first. And then you don't have to pay a bunch of money to get it done. But, like, get it done so that you have the receipt of being like, this is what I actually think. Like, I paid money to get this done, to say this is what they look like.
So what is your advice to those who are trying to start out in the fantasy world or the fantasy romance world and want to write a book? What is the advice that you wish someone would have told you that you would tell somebody else?
Really just don't put pressure on yourself to get things done in like a timely manner, because especially if it's your first book, you're not on a time crunch at all. Granted, I procrastinated Living Legend a lot, but I always felt like I needed to get it done before this time or this time, because once you start telling people a lot of the time that you're writing a book, then you'll have those same people asking you like, how's it going, how far are you, and you feel like you have to be a certain pace or you have to be going a certain way, and then it becomes less about what you want when you're writing and more about the timeline of other people. And then on top of that, it's definitely hard. It's not even that I wish somebody would have told me when I was writing the book, just mainly just now also that not to really ever compare yourself to other people. Like when
Right.
there's going to be plenty of fantasy romance authors, plenty of contemporary, plenty of dystopian, whatever. And some of them may do worse than you, some of them may do better than you, and it doesn't mean that your work is any less. It's just haven't found that niche of like those people that are gonna like make it pop off, but it doesn't mean you're not gonna find your people. So I mean, I know plenty of people that their first book it did fine, and then when their second book came out or a couple of months after the first book was out, like somebody found it and then it just like skyrocketed.
So what was your driving force behind Living Legend? Like, what was the key moment in your head where you were like, this is the book I'm going to write because I need to write this book?
I think it was like before I started writing it, I knew I wanted to get back into writing because I hadn't written in like so long. And I think the idea like with Danny's origin story kind of came out, and then like Nick and Reese and Elise kind of came when they came, but Danny was always kind of like a driving force. And then because I mean she's the first chapter, so I was like, okay, we're gonna write this first. And then it was very slow, and I didn't know I was going to publish it until maybe like halfway. And I was like, I feel like this is a story I need to like put out. But if you would have asked me that like months beforehand, I would have been like, no. Because I was very much a contemporary romance girl. So I would have written like a college romance or something.
What? Okay, so this is usually a speed round. It never goes as a speed round. As much as I try to say it's a speed round, let's just pretend like it's a speed round. All right. So, what is your book A from your book, and why?
Book bait for my book, it's always going to be Nick. I always go for dark-haired guys. So, no, Nick is nothing like my husband. They're completely opposite human beings. My husband is very much a Reese. He's not a Nick at all. But it's always going to be Nick. Nick was always endgame. Nick can be really annoying, but at the end of the day, out of the whole trilogy, it's just he's like hearts. So.
Okay. Who is your book babe from your favorite author and why? And what's the book?
That's really hard because I have a lot. I think if I had to like just immediately like spew it out, it would definitely be Zane from the Lost Boys series by the Nikki St. Crow. I need that.
Okay. What is your favorite trope and why?
I think there's something about Fork's proximity that I like so much. It's kind of like you can't do anything about it. So you might as well just make out. Like it's just, like this is where I'm at. I just like it so much. And it's like I mean, He Falls First is kind of in there. I like when kind of men are just so whiny about like how much they like somebody and like the female is just kind of like it's like they want it, but like you know that they're trying to be like flirtatious about it, but then that guy is kind of just like you're all I want. That's it. The end. Like
Your least favorite trope and why?
I I don't like pregnancy tropes that make no sense.
Uh,
Like I'm fine with a pregnancy trope if like it makes sense to the story. I don't like it to try to save relationships. I don't like it to save the story. And I don't like it when it's like, all of a sudden we're pregnant and the book is ending. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't like it as like a trope.
right.
Like, I like it if the couple ends and then they're just like, oh yeah, and then we're having a baby. And then, you're happy for them and it's the end. But like, if it's like 30% into the book, I'm just like, why? You guys were good.
I feel you on that.
I'm like,
I literally feel I hate that shit. Okay, so do you have a newsletter, Facebook group, or any other things that people can join? And what's the name and how can someone join?
So, I do have a newsletter. You just join by my on my Facebook. You join by my website. So you'll go on there, and I think there's like 2 different areas where you can do it on. But there's just like a specific place. It's like at the very bottom, and it just says like newsletter in like bold letters, and then you just sign up through that. And then I do have a Facebook group. I also have a readers group. They're both called the same thing. With the Facebook group, I think it's just like Allie's Angelic Simps or something. My PA did it, so like I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But the readers group is also called the same thing, but that's an invite only, so it's mainly just you just have to ask me to
Okay.
get. The thing with the readers group is you have to read the book because they're very spoilery over there. So
I know I'm in it, so I'll just be like,
Street Team is also pretty spoilery, but like I make a note like to not be. People like everybody's just feral. So whether it's Street Team or reader group, everybody's just feral over there. So I always warn
we love
people.
us some Nick.
I'm just like, if anybody wants to just sit in a circle and talk about their feelings, it's going to be everybody sending weird gifs about how much they like want to have an Eiffel Tower with like Nick and his dad. So that's kind of what's happening.
So what's next for you in regards to this book series, signings that you're going to be at, and what do you look forward to for the year coming up?
So for Living Legend, Legendary, which is going to be the second book, I'm like in the midst of writing it. I'm like pretty halfway done with it. So, that'll be finished soon and off to the editor. And then, the blurb reveal comes out at the end of this month. So people can read that. And then the ARC signups for book 2 will be, happening sometime in like September.
I will.
The one thing about the ARC signups is that it's kind of imperative, and me and my PA have talked about it, that book 1 is read. It's gonna be pretty high on the list on that, just because it's not a standalone, so it's like you getting book 2 and have never read book 1, it's just gonna be kind of
It's gonna
confusing.
be a loss if
You're
you
gonna be
do that.
real. You're gonna wonder why everybody's so sad
Yeah.
when book
Yeah.
2 happens. So I would rather you be really entertained with the first book and then get into the second one. But that'll happen, and then cover reveal at the end of this year, pretty much like around October, and then the book will be out next year around March. And then Arcs will go out a little bit before that. But then signing wise, it's Sinful Signings, which is going to be in Virginia, which is next month. DC Bookstars, which is going to be where I am, in like Maryland, DC area in October. And then there's like a whole bunch of stuff happening next year. It's like Dreaming Dirty in Maryland, Imaginarium, Books, Gowns, and Crowns.
I see you at the top tour.
Where's that?
Oh, we'll get into that before I end with you. But I also want everybody to know your social media handles so they know how to follow you and to be abreast of everything that's going on.
So TikTok, it's Allie Shante author, and then Instagram, it's Allie Shante writes. It's both of those.
So I want to say thank you so much for spending time with me this evening. And I adore your book. I adore your book. I don't like fantasy, but you made me a fantasy person.
I'm happy about that. Yeah, I like to throw out that my book is a good like starter if people don't
It it
know fantasy,
it
don't really like it, or like they've never had it. I'm like, it's great because you got that contemporary throw in there, but then you have magic,
exactly.
and I'm like, but there's magic
I've
wings.
I've read Harry Potter. I don't like the author, but I read Harry Potter and enjoyed it. I tried to read Lord of the Rings and wanted to fucking it myself. Because it's too much going on. I read a few authors on here that I found on my FYP or send me art of their fantasy books. So it's just I love this. I love this for you and I love this for me because I love Nick. I love me some
Yes,
Nick. I love
there's no
Reese
other way
too.
to go. You'll fall in love with him even more in Legendary. So he's he's very much
I
he's very much 100% simp status in book 2. My husband read like he reads each chapter when I finish it, and he read like the first chapter, which is from Nick's point of view, and he just looks at me when he's done with it, and he was like, "Can this man just cry? Like, cause he's just so sad that the girl is not around him." Like, I'm pretty sure this line of book 1, book 2 is like, I've never been one to pine for something before, but I'm literally sitting here pining for this girl. Like, yeah. He was like, can he just, I don't, he's like, I don't understand. He was like, this man's over here trying to like, he wishes he could like smell her hair and shit. It's like, because he's sad.
oh wow.
I was like, because
I
he's
can't
sad.
wait to read book 2. I cannot wait. I am a type of person who really am so particular about the series that I read because sometimes the series will just be too much for me and I just have to read a standalone. But I am ready. I am ready to read your series. I really want, and I'm not saying this to gas you up or
Yeah.
anything like this. I literally love your series. I love Living Legend. That shit was so fucking good. And it just wasn't even Nick, it was Danny and Elise relationship. They the one that really drew me in. Their relationship was so man, that was a love hate type. I love you, but you better watch your back because I kick your ass too type relationship. And then you have Nick and Reese, who Reese needs his own comedy show. Reese needs his own fucking comedy show. And then you have Natalia and Isabel, bitch ass. But you have Natalia and Isabel, and then you have Lilith, even though you don't have Lilith.
Yeah.
And then you have Jonah and his second, who I can't remember his name, but I was ready to box his ass because he was talking way too much.
Like, we don't even care at this point. It's fine.
He he too slick at the mouth. He too slick. But and then you have Nick's father, and it's just like, bruh, Yes.
There's a lot of people. You're gonna gain a lot of people in book two. Not a lot, but you're gonna gain a few. And um, one of my best friends cannot keep up the characters, and she's like, "Why would you do that?" She's like,
I wrote them all
she
down.
was like,
I
I got
literally
lost. She's like,
wrote them all down.
she's like, I lost some of your characters halfway through, and then she's like, that one and that guy and that girl. She's like, because I don't remember. She's like, are they going to be important enough for me to remember their name? I was like, if I gave them a name, sort of. Like, I don't normally give people names unless they're going to be like within it a little bit longer than I'd like, and I definitely wanted a nice cast of characters, and I did like the fact that like people did like, as much as she wasn't in the book, but she was in the book. Like Natalia is not part of like the main four, but
Yeah.
I guarantee they wouldn't have got many places without her. So
I can tell you this. Let me find it. I can tell you this. When I read your book, I literally wrote it down like, and I've had an author tell me that I write reviews like a thesis. But I tried to get everybody to understand how good a book is, because I never review a book that I don't like, or that was just, this is your review. It's, I literally,
an essay.
yeah, because I need people to understand where I'm coming from when I read it. I need you to read this book as much as I love this book.
You're like, I need us to talk about the theories that I have going on in this book right now.
And trust me, I have some conspiracy theories about these characters, because I was like, ain't no way. Nah, that's not what she was talking about. It's this. So I really enjoyed your book, and it really got me into wanting to read other authors that were in it. I've liked fantasy books, but I've never loved fantasy books.
Yeah.
And I truly love you. And I just appreciate that you wrote this book.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
I didn't know that it was gonna like people were gonna like it this much. I think when I published it, I was like, this book is really thick.
but it's good. It's from the beginning, how you started the book to how you ended the book. Now I ain't gonna lie, how you ended the book, I was ready to fucking box somebody. But
I
from
mean,
the
you got an epilogue, so that was fun.
yeah, I mean, from the beginning, it was so good. But it was the twists and turns, the missions, the stories within the story that truly drew me in. And I'm so picky about books, so I was just like, oh, so it was really good to me. And till I can't say it no more, get this book. You are not going to be disappointed. Get this book. So thank you so much. Also, FYI, if you missed this podcast, it will be on YouTube podcast, was in my bio. You can click on the YouTube symbol, the full version. It will also be on Apple and Spotify on my podcast, in which I will send you the link so you will have. Now back to Boozy Book Tour. I can't believe you ain't heard of it.
I feel like I have. I just haven't heard a lot.
Okay, the Boozy Book Tour is 5 cities. It's Chicago, it's Charlotte, it's Denver, it's Houston, and it's Tulsa. It goes all the way into 2025. It's only 5 cities. But it's an intimate experience for readers and authors, where we have a chef that's going to come in and cook for the author. That's the VIP package, but they will cook for the authors and the readers, where they can sit down and talk to you, take pictures. It's not over 8 authors. It's just very intimate experience. You have the general admission package, and then you have the VIP, which would probably be 20 people. And but the general admission, that's a lot of people. But it's very intimate. Swag bags from us, swag bags if the author chooses to give stuff. Um, and like I said, it's just a very intimate experience. 5 cities, 2024. The website is up. I'll send it to you if you want it to check it out. But Each city, different authors, different theme. So I hope you will be on it because I need a fangirl. Yeah, you got a fan. I go.
I mean, I'm all for that. That's totally fine. I love like the virality of it all. Like it's great. I mean, most times people can usually get like one or two things out of me about the book if I have enough alcohol, but probably not.
Oh, and that too. The boozy book tour, you get alcohol from the local brands that from that state or city, and you also get unlimited. So maybe I can get a lot out of you.
I mean, my husband got the entire story out of me in New York. I mean, he knew enough. Like, he knew about how book one ended. He knew about how book two was gonna go, but he wasn't aware of. I was keeping him in the dark about a lot. So my husband didn't know anything about how book two was going to end. He didn't know really anything about book three. But we got like we were at I don't know if you've ever watched Gossip Girl before.
Yeah.
So we went to the Empire Hotel, and we there's like a whole lounge on the top of the Empire Hotel that you have to have a reservation for, and a reservation. So like you have to like go up there and like in the elevator, and then they seat you at a certain spot, and then they have like a Gossip Girl themed drink, and there's other drinks, and you can take photos, and it's like really really nice. And
this is in New York or DC?
yeah, it's in New York, like where the whole show was filmed. So yeah, it's like if you stand in front of the Empire Hotel, it's like that one scene in Gossip Girl when he like tells Blair that he like bought the Empire Hotel, and they like are running up to the like it's literally that hotel.
You went there? Oh,
I
wow.
wanted my Gossip Girl moment, and I told my husband I made reservations. We're going there. We're going upstairs to the lounge, and I had like 2 to 3 drinks, and he was at first kind of like, all you have to do is like blink if I'm right about something, and I was like, okay. And then there's certain times I would just start drinking because I was like, oh no, I was like, you're getting dangerously close to things. And then he was just like, okay, he's like, you have literally, he's like 2 minutes to tell me as much as you would like to tell me about this book. And I told him like pretty much everything. And then at one point he was asking me, he was like, just yes or no. He's like, is like blank, 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 blank. And I'm like, then I gave him my answer, and he's like, no way. He was like, oh my God. He's like, no.
I have a question. Now you don't have to answer it, but is book 2 gonna be more sexually explicit than book 1?
Is there more scenes? Are they longer, or like?
Are they longer, or they're more in depth, or?
I mean, I kind of thought 16 was a little in depth, but I mean, I don't know how much more in depth I guess I could get. But I mean, yes, like it. So there's more than 2. So like book 1 only had 2, and I only put 2 because
shit, it didn't need no more as long as some motherfuckers was.
Yeah, I'm like, I just wanted 16 to pack that punch that it needed. Like, obviously, this man was smitten from like chapter 2, but I really needed chapter 16 to like bring home that all of that had merit. Like, all of that sex and all of those conversations had merit. Like, he gives a crap, and he does care about her as much as he would like to bury it down deep. But like, he does, and then everything else came to a head after that. But book 2 definitely has more as in quantity, and it's not all like sex. Like, it's not just all that. It's like I asked like somebody in my readers group, I was like as a legitimate question, like, do you consider like something that isn't intercourse still a sex scene? Like, you know, like, that may seem dumb, but I'm like, if somebody's just like going down on somebody else, like for, you know, a page, is that still, you know, considered like, is that still what it is? And they're like, I think anything that's happening is enough for us. And I was like, okay, then that's you're getting a lot of these different ones in the book. Because I mean, the first one that comes up, like there is no actual intercourse, but there is like other things that happen. Um,
Okay.
because
Okay.
yeah, because I think it's very true. Giver will always be a giver. 100% is just like he's in for it. Like he's fine. He could probably do that for the rest of his life
Okay. Okay.
with her primarily because that's it. Like he's kind of that's it, just her. He's a tunnel vision monogamous type. So
Okay.
he's the jealous type, but he is a type. So
Well, I appreciate you for coming on with me, and I look forward to seeing what book two brings. And know that it will be reviewed. You will get your video review from me because, baby, book one was given. It was given. It was given what need to be given. God damn it!
I'm hoping that book two gives the same amount. So
Because you had me shook up. I was like, damn.
I like to say that book two is very much like people kind of think it's gonna come right out the gate with like the smut, and I'm like, well, no, because if you read book one, you would know that that can't really happen right now. Like the rekindling has to rekindle, like
Man.
gotta like work for that at this point. So
That I'm man. Like I said, living that legend, it's the truth. I get it. I get it. I really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy romance that I can literally say wholeheartedly with my picky ass that I literally really enjoyed your book, your writing style, the plot, the twists, the turns, the story within. The thing about it is because you put a story within the story. That's my weakness right there. So I loved it. So wholeheartedly loved it. Honest to God, truth loved it. So I can't wait until book two. Cause
yeah, look at those like those arc forms. They'll be in like the street team and the reader group first in the newsletter, and then I'll give it out to the world. But you gotta sign up for that, so make sure so you can get it, so you're not like waiting like everybody else.
let me tell you something. I joined your arc team. I joined your street team. I joined everything because I wanted to make sure that I got the. So I hope to like talk to you again when book two comes out next year and discuss that because I'm sure I'm gonna have a ton of questions and try to pry some shit out of you for book three. But I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. Even as an indie author, you are amazing. And it's only up from here.